Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition Thin Blood Chronicle, Are We Dead Yet? This is Epilogue 1, All Will Be Forgiven. Let's meet these vampires and find out how forgiving they are, starting with April.
Hi, I'm April. I'm known as the Tabletop Geek on Instagram and TikTok, and I will be playing the Thin Blood Ruby Hemlock.
Thank you. And Zach?
Hi, I'm Zachary Vaudo from ATL by Night, Adjacent by Night, and many more. Tonight, I'll be playing your very own Baron of the Strip, Baron Conanti.
We're very excited to have Zach back. As always, this is a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition actual play. We've gone over our safety and consent, but check in with yourselves because your safety and well-being is important to all of us playing. So where are we in our story? Well, this newly embraced Thin Blood coterie witnessed the death of one of their former romantic partners at the hands of one of their own. They've met a werewolf. They've met a vampire pirate. And they've met a vampire who preaches freedom for all. As the rest of the coterie wanders away from Club Karma at the beach, some together, some on their own, needing time to collect their thoughts and come to terms with everything that has happened, Ruby, you have stayed behind. Right now you stand before Baron Conanti, seated on his large beach chair, with Frankie to his back, the man who claims to have brought you into this world of darkness. Ruby, you out of all of your friends really gravitated towards the Baron and his message of personal freedom for kindred, and as we all know, the Baron is more than happy to talk about his vision. Frankie starts to wander back to the bar, but you can tell that he's keeping his eyes and ears on this conversation.
Well, that was certainly an exciting night, I have to say.
Yeah, it's been that way for a couple of nights now.
The first few are always a bit of a whirlwind. How you feeling?
Well, I'm angry all the time. I killed my best friend's ex-wife, which, yeah, she was a bitch. But I don't feel bad about it. I should feel bad that I killed somebody, and I don't. I want to, but I don't.
Did she deserve it?
She was a verbally, mentally abusing, money-grubbing bitch.
And your friend wasn't able to get out of that, or couldn't get out of that, even after his death.
I mean, she followed us.
You see, you might remember that, I know y'all new to this, but you might remember that there exists a thing that a good portion of our community considers important called the masquerade, which is making sure that the human folk aren't aware of what we are this whole time. So she's following y'all around. She's eventually going to figure out what's going on, and then you've got a whole other problem to deal with. So I'm not gonna make a morality call for you and say that you did the right thing. I'm just saying that there's a lot of factors here in place that certainly had to be considered.
I lost the love of my life. And I had to say goodbye to her. And instead of the tearful hug and kiss that you would think you would say goodbye to somebody you love that much, she looked at me in absolute fear and disgust. I planned my entire future around her, and now she's gone. And if I'm around her, I know she'll just end up like you seem to enjoy this life, but so far this sucks ass for me.
Well, in all fairness, you've been in this for less than 72 hours.
So you're telling me it gets better?
Can. Don't have to get better. It can get a hell of a lot worse, but it can. It's all a matter of how you approach it. See, now, trust me, what I'm going to say is going to sound crass, but bear with me on this one. You just lost the love of your life. You based your whole life around her. The entire concept of the rest of your years was attached to her. That life don't exist anymore, do it? That time frame don't exist anymore, do it? The concept that you have the love of your life existed in a span of at most 80 years. You don't got that limit anymore, do you? You've got no endpoint inside except for the one that you stumble yourself into, whether it be the sun or the business end of somebody's bad night. So I urge you to experience what you're experiencing and feel what you're feeling. But keep in mind that the rest of your life is a very fluid concept for you now. And who and what you're basing the rest of your life on, quite frankly, that's going to change a few times over, because it's going to take you a bit to really get into the mindset that the rest of your life is 2, 3, 4, 10 times as long as you thought it might be. And frankly, the one that you are still attached to can still play an important part in your life. In fact, she probably will, whether or not you ever see her. That's a strong emotional bond right there that you can't just let go of very easily without some real personal conditioning. She's still going to be important to you, whether or not you keep her around.
I guess that's true. So, what does somebody do for 2, 3, 4, 5 lifetimes?
Frankly, whatever you want, depending on the circumstance you put yourself into. Folks will change identities over and over again. They will find niches that mean something to them for 50 so years, die, pop back up again in a brand new niche. They may involve themselves in kindred life and society and government, getting into the business side of that. There's a wide variety of things that you could do over the course of your life. But the good part is that you don't have to be locked into any one particular thing. I guarantee you that I am not in the same field that I was in when I started in this. This field didn't even exist when I started in this. You got options, kid.
Wow. I haven't felt that in a while.
I guarantee you, this look here, this is a 20th century deal. And that was not what I was before. Far from it. I found something that I liked. I found something that meant something to me. And I'm holding on to it. Might be holding on to it a little longer than the current fashion trend is, but it means something to me.
Is it considered rude to ask you how old you are?
It's not considered rude, no.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm not going to tell you, but it's not considered rude.
Okay, fair enough.
You see, that's the thing. In this position, the one thing that gives you your own personal power is your identity, is the information about yourself. The more that you share with other people, the more trust you are putting in other people, which means the more is out there for other people to use. Sounds a little pessimistic, nihilistic, I admit, but as I said, the years tend to change people.
I guess that's fair.
I'm not saying keep everybody at an arm's length. I'm just saying be mindful of what's important to you. Key elements matter. Y'all don't know everything about me as open and forthcoming as I've been, and that's for a reason. That's because there's only so much that I can share before it starts to become dangerous for me.
I guess that's fair. So one of the things you brought up was basically you like to, in better phrasing, stick it to the man. of this vampire world, what exactly do you do?
We can call it that. That's a Now, there's a other group that is more stick it to the man in verbal sense in that specific name. You met one of them already, the piratey boy, Merle. He belongs to that group that really prefers to stick it to the man. That's the definition of their allegiance, of their sect, is sticking it to the man. And it's because the man has set itself up as this very bureaucratic monarchical system, and they don't like that so much. The problem, of course, is that in the process of sticking it to the man, they sort of become their own version of the man. They're very adamant that they are not like the Camarilla, but they still have a hierarchy of structure. They've got a baron instead of a prince. They've got all sorts of tiered levels of things. And it's just sort of the same thing with a different dressing, but there for freedom. Me and my kind are very much about personal freedoms. It's not, we try not to buy into the whole political landscape of things. We try not to push the concept of being in charge and owning the system, sticking it to the man. If it comes to it, then we'll do it. But my big thing, my big deal, is to accept what I am and experience everything that what I am affords me. I've got lifetimes ahead of me. I have no limits except the ones that I put on myself. That means that I can do a lot. I can choose to do a lot. And unlike being under the rule of a Camarilla prince or an anarch baron, most of them, I get to choose what I want to do with it.
It's an interesting philosophy, but okay, so when I was in college, I used to go do a lot of protests and sit-ins, lock-ins. I used to go down to county commission meetings to try and get shit done. And a lot of times it felt like it was on deaf ears.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if we the people demanded something, it was still up to these elected assholes to decide what they wanted to do.
Exactly. It's entirely up to each person what they want to do. Yelling at a system ain't gonna do much in the long run because it's a system. It's a machine. It follows certain protocols. It follows certain rules. Those rules have been set up for who knows how long, and the machine keeps running so long as it keeps getting fed what it needs. The machine don't change. The people change. So you can go and yell at the system to enact change. Or you could talk to all the people around you and see if they want to change. Because a machine can't work if nobody around it wants to run it.
But doesn't the people whose best interest relies on the machine, don't they try to step in and put leashes on the people?
They do.
So how do you take care of them?
You don't have to listen to them.
Really?
Why do you? Who says you have to listen to them? Is it them? Is it the people who are trying to put the leash on you saying you have to listen to them? Why do you have to listen to them? What purpose do you have to listen to them? What does it serve you to listen to them if it's not serving your best interests and it's only serving theirs?
So what exactly do these people do if they're like, you do this, and you go, oh, go fuck yourself?
Well, it depends. Oftentimes they believe that they are in charge, they have the jurisdiction, they have the authority. They might take offense to it. They might shun you. They might tell others not to work with you. They may try to throw hands at you, but it's up to you how you respond, whether you let it get to that point in the first place by staying around or waiting or reacting. In my case, I put myself into the system. As I said, I don't consider myself an anarch, but I still hold the title of Baron. Because, frankly, that's sort of a shortcoming of the anarchs, is anybody can declare themselves a Baron, and they just have to hold the authority for it.
Are you serious?
There ain't no system for it. There's no election. There's no praxis. There's no right equals might. Actually, there is. There's might equals right. And if you have the authority, personal authority, to control your area and tell others that it's not their area, it's your area, you're a Baron.
So I could just pick a little alleyway and say, I'm the Baron of this alleyway?
Sure, it just depends on whose alley you're in and if they are willing to let you have the alley. Some of them might not be willing to let you have the alley. They might be stronger than you. There's some places that try to, form a council sort of feel, where like a meeting of the Barons, and they like try to divvy up the sections for other Barons. I think they did that out west at one point, but that seems kind of redundant to the Camarilla, if you ask me. You just get everybody, you get a whole bunch of Barons telling this one Baron what space he can have when he claimed it of his own accord, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
What's the point there?
He's that Baron who claims himself Baron. He's still being dictated to what to do by probably people stronger than him.
Exactly. But so you may see why the anarch movement didn't quite appeal to me, because that's what it is. Really, it's a movement. It's not so much a sect. It is a movement. It has its strength when it is reacting to things, and then when it don't have anything to react to, it tries to find things to react to. It kind of starts spinning its wheels in place until it can get traction again.
Mm-hmm.
So about this, I got another question about this community that you've built. That's not necessarily anarchs, even though you're an anarch Baron. That's confusing in itself. But this community that you said.
Yes.
How big is it exactly?
Ever growing. We got quite a few people involved, but we're still growing it. It's smaller than I would hope, but the point is to get more people involved and grow it up and grow it up. Storyteller, do I know specifically the numbers on this?
You would have an idea that it would be less than you would prefer,
okay,
but more than you would probably want to tell Ruby.
Makes sense. Yeah, we're not going to be taking control of the state or anything, but we're growing ourselves and we're carving out a niche for ourselves.
As he answers, I look over at Frankie and I look back to him and I say, is this why Frankie was interested in us?
Yes.
And so that's the whole point of why we're this, is to kind of help grow your community?
Frankie saw in you people who needed a place. You may have had your life set out, but something was missing. Something was not quite there. You saw that. And then when y'all got hit the way you did, he gave you a way to take it back. Like I said, it's not the best option, I might admit, but a better option than no option.
The way you describe it, it feels almost like it's a clean slate.
In a way, it is. You don't technically even have to be Ruby if you don't want to.
I don't?
No, I mean, you walk around face out like that, people are eventually going to recognize you if you go into familiar spaces, but for all intents and purposes, you're dead.
At that, Frankie leaves the bar and walks back over and stands to the right side of the Baron. He says, I would be really surprised if Hunter Perot was his real name.
And I'm probably guessing Baron Conanti is not your real name.
My first name sure ain't Baron, that's for certain. Now, I left my name behind a long time ago. In fact, it'd probably sound out of place if I kept going by it nowadays. Out of style, as it were, more so than the Miami Vice I'm sporting.
So you were talking about with the community, not on land with a bunch of tiny houses. So where do all these other people like us, Thin Bloods, Dustborn, where do we stay?
Wherever you want to, frankly. Frank and I can help you get set up in hotels and housings around the area. But as we're not trying at the moment to carve out a niche in the space for ourselves, we're not declaring territory. I have a territory that I consider mine as the Baron of the Strip, which means there's a bunch of safe spaces in here, but considering what you are, you could arguably live anywhere. You could live right under the noses of the Camarilla and the Anarchs, and they wouldn't necessarily know because you're walking around in the daytime half the time.
That is true.
Folks like your buddy there might be a little bit more noticeable, but in general.
Oh, that's true. It is weird, though, because so when morning came, a couple of my friends, they just passed out. They looked like they were just dead corpses until we woke them up. We were able to wake them up. But me and Ramon and Tex, wherever the hell Tex went, we were able to stay up. I mean, we were tired, but we didn't fall straight to sleep.
The benefits change person to person. Some of y'all are able to survive the sun longer than others. Some of y'all are able to do things that others can't do. Some of you can create blood bonds, like I mentioned earlier, while other Thin Bloods can't. That's standard, usually. The Dustborn can't. But it varies. You're all your own individual people. You all have your own different perks.
And that's
You're one
why
of the ones that can be out in the sun for a time.
And there's also drawbacks because I don't have any fangs.
That is true. Some of y'all don't get that, which means you have to find other methods. I found that razor blades tend to be a good fashion with some. Some people get those those like metal grills that have little fangs on and they pop them in, so they can really get the whole kindred feel of it. You got options. Some people just use a syringe, blood bags.
Frankie pops out a top denture, pulls it down. Had these special made for me about 10 years ago. They work great. Pops them back in.
I can get a pair of those?
Easily. I've got a share in a prosthesis company here in town. I could probably hook you up with that.
Wow. Awesome. No, I'm guessing even though we all live forever, we can claim territory and all that, the evil of capitalism probably still flows in this community, doesn't it?
That it does. Evil of capitalism, the evil of hierarchical control, all of it.
So basically, wherever I go, I'm going to need some way to provide and make money.
Usually, yes. You're going to have to still live among the people, unless you inject yourself into the stronger-hold kindred communities, where you might trade in things like booms instead of money. The Camarilla has some folks that they ain't done nothing outside of vampire life for decades. They're just trading favors with one another, but that's the problem, is you find yourself beholden to other people to get things that you need and vice versa. Plus that whole prince hierarchy structure thing. You say the wrong thing, you don't bow right, you're in trouble, etc.
I've been a kindred for about 10 years, 15 years. I've discovered that money isn't as important anymore. What's really important is blood.
Too true.
More so than worrying about getting money from people to pay your way. What you want is a way to make sure you stay fed. Because if you're in a clear head, you can figure everything else out.
That is exactly right, Frankie. Not only that, if you have access to blood, you have a commodity of your own for those who may be in need at any given point in time.
Remind me to tell you about the circulatory system some night.
Circulatory system?
Yeah. Usually it's a cam thing, but I know a guy who knows a guy.
We all find our ways in this world.
Knowing people is going to be important, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's why I wanted to make sure I met y'all.
So, you mentioned how the Camarilla does boons and favors and all that, but certainly, I mean, I'm sure maybe you have the goodness of your heart and best of intentions with other Duskborn, but you expect some sort of something to help these little guys out, right?
Every living and unliving person does, usually.
That's true. So, if I were to say, I need your guidance, I want to be part of this community, what would I have to do?
Like I said, I ain't got a formalized community. I'm not going to be like having you work on vegetable garden or anything off the bat, or run an information booth. But it's being available to help others, to bring others in to this. There's a lot of Dustborn out there that still don't have a spot, or there's other kindred that are being turned and they don't know where to go. There's people that aren't feeling the call of the Camarilla or the Anarchs, and they need another option. They realize that something is wrong there. And frankly, I can't be everywhere. Frankie can't be everywhere. So, as religious as this might sound, it's spreading the good word.
And it is a good word.
Okay, if this is a Jesus thing, I haven't been to church in years, so...
I don't subscribe, personally.
Okay.
The good word being that you have another option. Life is not what you've been told it has to be. Unlife is not what you've been told it has to be. You are allowed and encouraged to find your own way.
Spiritual freedom will lead to everyone's freedom.
Spiritual freedom, bureaucratic freedom, personal freedom.
What you say sounds good, but I've kind of learned in the past that if something's too good to be true, it usually is. There's got to be a catch.
Well, the catch is that the Camarilla and the Anarchs aren't going to like it.
That's probably a big catch.
The problem with offering something that's too good to be true is the people that aren't part of it don't want it to be true. And they will do quite a bit to make sure that it's not true. They're not above lying, cheating, stealing, spreading rumors, hurting people, to make sure to prove that it's not true.
Especially if you see some three-eyed idiot calling himself the Baron of Myrtle Beach.
Three-eyed?
Some of us have more noticeable traits about us than others.
Ah.
Awfully funny, too. He parades that around here, and in other cities, that'd be a big old target on his forehead. Like, he was doing okay.
I mean, I know Myrtle Beach is kind of interesting, but certainly somebody walking around with three eyes, that's got to be a red flag to somebody.
Only if they notice it.
He thinks his bangs are long enough, I guess.
He's an interesting one. He's a lesson in the whole putting your trust in people thing. And the fact that not everybody wants what is too good to be true to be true. As another legitimate Baron, somebody who I thought would be against the overview of the Camarilla, I reached out to him. I offered allyship. Not trying to necessarily convert him over to my ways. He's got his own ways, but figuring that we have similar interests, he had Dustborn that he liked. I very much appreciate the Dustborn in this town. We can create safe haven for them. Not to mention, I had been given information, as I told you earlier, that the Hekata were responsible for damage to their property, and I offered to help. Turns out I'm not omniscient. Go figure. I was wrong. And he and his friends took that personally. And that is why you have Club Karma on the beach as opposed to Club Karma on the street corner where it previously was.
And all the other places that have got gas leaks and other situations like that in the news, huh?
Well, from what I heard, there is a connection. They certainly do like to cause damage, the Anarch movement does, and in at least one of them, I heard one person declare that it was on behalf of Baron Gale.
Sounds like a real charmer.
He considers himself an unwilling revolutionary. He doesn't want the job. He didn't ask to be Baron, except when somebody challenges his position, in which case I'm the Baron.
Yeah, I've seen types like that. With the revolution, I've noticed you may not want to be the person, you may not want to be the boots on the ground, but somebody's got to do it, and just say you want change.
Exactly. You don't have to work all the sides about it. You don't got to be hypocritical about it. You don't got to pretend that you want one thing and then do another thing. You just do it.
I think it's important, Ruby, for you to know people that maybe you should just be extra cautious about. Baron Galen being one of them. Of course, you already met Hunter, but Hunter has more friends than just them. His girlfriend, I wouldn't have anything to do with her. She's the daughter, or the child of the prince, however you want to put it. And they have another one, a Samitsi. He's doesn't wear his own face or use his own name, and anyone who takes that much time to hide who they are, well, it bears taking a second moment to think about exactly what they want.
That one you should probably be extra careful about too, because I imagine that your friend Ramon is going to have an immediate draw to somebody who is able to change his and other people's appearances. All things considered.
Yeah.
But probably the most dangerous person in the Grand Strand is a woman named Victoria. You see her, you should run.
What does she look like?
Gorgeous. Dark skin. Deadly.
In fact, I'm going to rouse, because I still have it available to me, and I succeed. In fact, and I'm just going to wave my hand and activate True Love's face. From the previous season, and you see Victoria standing in front of you.
So, Baron takes a moment, and you see him sort of concentrate, and you see his form shift and change. His hair starts to become long and dark and curly. His skin darkens. He grows shorter. And before you is this very young, very beautiful woman who looks completely demure and calm. Doesn't look like she would harm a fly. And yet this is the visage that Frankie was talking about.
The deadliest things come in the smallest packages sometimes.
Oh,
You can't do that to people, Baron. They're just not used to it yet.
Oh, come now, and I'll just let it shimmer out. Going away, it just sort of shimmers off as opposed to the full growing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God! There's vampire magic.
I like to call it vampire bullshit. That's what I like to call it.
Vampire bullshit. I can get down with that term. Vampire bullshit.
Victoria is something the Camarilla call an Archon, or she was at one time. And basically their whole job is to do whatever the big enforcers of the Camarilla tell them to do. And usually that's to kill people, meaning other vampires.
Which makes it ironic, as somebody in that position, would be a love interest of the aforementioned Baron Galen.
I guess she's
As I
turned to leave.
mentioned.
She's an anarch now.
As I mentioned, the hypocrisy of it all.
Oh, this is kind of. I appreciate all the information. It's just it.
Overwhelming.
Like the Baron said, we can't be everywhere, so we need to give you as much information as we can. And I mean, I can talk to you during the day, but the Baron certainly can't.
At least attempting to give you a bit of a primer before we send you out in the world. Your friends have stuck around, they'd be getting the same thing. Hopefully we can get the word to them either through you or coming back to me. But as I have taken an interest in your well-being, I would like to see you make it past the 72-hour mark.
I appreciate that. So if we can't trust Hunter, what do we do? Because we're staying in one of his properties.
Well, you're welcome to transfer over to one of mine, or you can stay there with the knowledge of who he is. Sometimes I find it's completely safe staying someplace with somebody you don't trust if you know the information about them already. Makes it harder for them to pull a fast one on you.
It's that whole devil you know thing.
Lets you have the option to pull a fast one on him first.
What could he have possibly told me that y'all don't already know about him?
We're not asking for information on Hunter. I think we're pretty well versed in what he does. But we just don't want anything to happen to you, for you to come towards an untimely demise, Ruby, because Hunter and his friends are dangerous and messy, and they don't think about other people before they do shit. I was in a cage for 3 days by Hunter and Galen. So, speaking from experience.
Okay.
For his own good, naturally.
Yeah, the blood bond was for my own good, too.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Wow. He seemed so nice at the time, too.
That's the point.
Plenty of us seem really nice.
So, how do I know if you're really nice? Because you seem really nice.
You don't.
Yeah, you don't.
Hopefully my actions will speak louder than my words will over time. Hopefully my reputation will precede me. But quite frankly, you don't.
Quite frankly, all of this would have gone a lot differently if a werewolf didn't show up.
Yeah,
It wasn't supposed to be this way.
is she gonna come back? Because she, kind of made some threats.
Till tonight, I didn't even know they existed.
They operate on different authority. So whether or not she gonna come back, that is 100% her call, and there ain't a goddamn thing any of us can do about it.
To be honest, I'm much more worried about your missing friend.
Yeah. It's really weird. Sir, I don't know if you've dealt with anything like this to where somebody is standing behind you 1 second, you turn around, and they're just gone.
I mean, from time to time I have. It's an ability of some to just disappear from sight. But if they didn't say anything to you, then one must wonder what they did, where they went, or if they got grabbed.
So it's either they turned invisible, teleported, or somebody snatched them and we just didn't notice?
Correct, on all three accounts.
Or they could be, I've heard weird stories, and like I said, a decade or more as a Thin Blood. And some of us got weird shit going on.
If Tex here has abilities beyond the baseline, they could have gone anywhere. They could have done anything. It's possible they turned invisible right behind you and chose not to say anything. I don't know. Somebody could have rushed in, grabbed them, and gone away before any of you noticed. Some people are that fast. There's a lot of options.
We did notice in the parking lot, Tex's car was gone. And, Frankie Do you have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I moved it. I didn't want to get towed.
Oh, that's appreciated. Especially since my suitcase is in there. Can I get that?
Yeah, sure. I really got to find a pad and paper. He runs over to the bar. I just serve SoCos and lime, so I don't ever write anything down. But eventually he finds just a sort of a scrap of a back of a receipt from the Gay Dolphin. He takes his pencil out of his pocket, this little golf pencil. Everyone in Myrtle Beach has a golf pencil. It's inevitable. And he writes down the, you store it. There you go.
It's probably better for you to go get it instead of us delivering it to Hunter's motel.
Yeah.
And you should probably do that soon, actually, because I'm pretty sure that they lock the gates at 10.
Ah, shit. Thanks. I'll keep that in mind. And is there a way I can contact you in case I don't feel safe at that place anymore?
Absolutely. Frankie, you got a number you can write down on the back of that thing?
Sure do. And he starts writing down a number. You can always come here, Club Karma at the beach. And, I'll be around. Day and night.
Thanks. I really appreciate it, and I think you can expect to hear from me soon.
I certainly hope so. I hope your friends come back with you too. I'd hate for them to be out on their own in all of this.
And I hope you find Tex.
Thank you.
All of your friends.
Thanks. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And like I said, my offers still stand. If you all need more proof of trust, we've got ways of ensuring it. Where one of those, I will never cause harm to you, we're all in the same boat sort of deals.
Yeah.
Not above it.
I'll figure out where everybody went. That werewolf is actually Ramon's sister, turns out. God, I hope he didn't go and find her. But I'll try and look for him, Tex, everyone else, and see if we can come up with a plan. And I'll let you know.
I appreciate that, Ruby.
I appreciate you answering all my questions.
Absolutely.
Be safe out there, and call me when you need to.
Yeah, run along, find your friends, get back to us when you got it.
Thanks.
100%.
As Frankie and the Baron watch Ruby leave the beach and go back up to the dunes to the parking lot to get an Uber or catch a cab, Frankie leans in. So?
She's promising. I think she really gets it.
I hope she's not the only one, but
I hope so too.
I'm glad 1 out of 5 ain't bad.
1 out of 5 ain't bad. All the same, though, if you wouldn't mind keeping tabs on the other 4, it comes down to it. I prefer for it to be 1 out of 1 instead of 1 out of 5.
Breaking my heart, boss, but yeah, all right.
I want to be as nice as I can.
We can't risk them joining up with Hunter.
No, we cannot.
They're my kids, boss, but
Well, then
do what I say.
I sure hope that Ruby can get through to them, or they'll come on back. Because I would love to have them here.
I'll see what I can do.
I know you will.
And as Frankie heads back over to the bar, some more people arrive. SoCos and Lime, and Frankie looks at them and looks at you, as if asking them too. It's a couple of girls, very young. He gives them their SoCos and Lime and doesn't carry on any further conversation. Definitely doesn't ask anyone for ice, but Frankie keeps his eye out for the next potential target. And that is where we were going to end. Epilogue 1, All Will Be Forgiven. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.